Kyle stood alone in the desert, wiping sweat from his brow as the sun burned overhead. He was fixing a damaged comms tower, something he had done many times before. It was quiet, too quiet. No birds, no wind, no signal. Just silence. He looked. At his handheld scanner, the signal interference was strange. Something was coming from the sky, but it wasn't any satellite or human tech. Suddenly, the scanner beeped wildly. Kyle looked up. Above him, glowing blue symbols started forming in the sky like writing made of light. His heart raced. The symbols moved, shimmered, and rearranged themselves until they formed a message. "Kyle, I need you." His eyes widened. What the hell? Before he could even take a step back, a blinding white light shot down from the sky. It wrapped around his body, pulling him off the ground. He screamed. Everything went white. When Kyle opened his eyes, he was lying on a soft glowing surface. The ceiling above looked like moving glass, showing stars and galaxies. His limbs felt heavy. He tried to sit up but was too weak. That's when he saw her, a tall, slender figure with silver blue skin and glowing eyes stepped closer. Her long hair flowed like water, and she wore a white robe that shimmered with every step. She knelt beside him. "I was afraid you wouldn't survive the transport," she said softly. Kyle's eyes blinked rapidly. "Who are you?" "The alien." Girl touched her chest. "My name is Lyra. I brought you here because I need you." "You what?" Kyle tried to sit up, panic rising. "Where is here? What do you mean you need me?" She looked down, as if ashamed. "Please, don't be afraid. I've waited a long time for you, too long." Kyle stared at her, his heart still pounding. "Waited? You know me?" She nodded. "Your name, your face, your voice. I've seen them all, in the dreams." He frowned. "Dreams? That doesn't make any sense." Lyra stood and pressed a glowing button on the wall. The room shifted. The walls became transparent, showing a beautiful alien world outside. Floating islands, rivers of light, and creatures flying through the air. "This is my home," she said. "But it's not safe anymore. My people are in danger. We're dying." Kyle sat up slowly. "And what does that have to do with me?" Lyra turned to him, her expression serious now. "Because you are different. Your DNA, your spirit. You are the key to saving us." Kyle shook his head. "This has to be a dream." She walked closer, her voice soft again. "I didn't mean to scare you, but I had no choice. Others wanted to harm you. Earth doesn't know what you really." He blinked. "What I am?" "Yes," Lyra whispered. "More than human." Kyle stood up now, slowly looking around. Everything looked advanced, far beyond Earth's technology. The floor responded to his steps with soft light. The air smelled like flowers and metal. "Okay," he said. "Let's say I believe you. Why couldn't you just ask me?" She hesitated. "Because you would have said no. You wouldn't have believed me. I've watched your kind. You fear what you don't understand." Kyle folded his arms. "So instead, you abducted me?" Her eyes filled with emotion. "I didn't abduct you. I saved you." "From what?" She didn't answer. Instead, she held out her hand. "Please come. There's more you need to see." Kyle didn't move. "I promise," she said gently. "I won't hurt you. I've waited for this moment for years. I only want to help my people, and maybe, if you let me, help you too." Kyle looked at her hand. Everything inside him screamed to run, to fight, to escape. But something in her eyes, something felt real. He slowly reached out and took her hand. The moment he touched her, a wave of strange warmth passed through his body. His vision blurred, and in a flash he saw things, visions, a city in ruins, Lyra standing alone in the rain. Her people, crying, a war, a hope. His face, then it was gone. He gasped, pulling back. "What was that?" he asked, shaken. Our memory bond, she said. You are more connected to me than you know. Kyle took a step back, still breathing hard. But he didn't run. Lyra smiled softly. Thank you for not turning away. Kyle looked around once more. He was in a place beyond imagination. With a girl who said she had waited a lifetime for him, one thing was clear. This was just the beginning. Kyle opened his eyes slowly. He was lying on a soft bed of glowing blue grass. Above him, the sky was a deep violet, with two suns shining gently. Strange flying creatures drifted through the air like glowing jellyfish. A warm breeze touched his skin. It was beautiful. Too beautiful. Kyle sat up and looked around. He was in a wide, open field with tall crystal trees. Flowers the size of his head swayed gently without wind. A calm river nearby sparkled with silver water. The place looked like a dream or a trap designed to feel like one. Where am I now? He whispered. Then he heard footsteps behind him. He turned. Lyra was walking toward him, her white robe flowing behind her, bare feet not making a sound. She looked peaceful, like she belonged here. This is your new home, she said softly. Kyle stood up quickly. Wait, new home? What are you talking about? Lyra didn't answer at first. She looked up at the sky. This is one of our ancient gardens, hidden, safe. The ship brought us here while you rested. Kyle shook his head. No. I want to go back. You said I'd be safe, not trapped. Lyra turned to him. Her glowing eyes were serious now. I said you were important. That hasn't changed. He stepped back. You drugged me. You moved me again while I was unconscious. That's not trust. That's control. I needed time, she said, to show you what we're trying to protect. This is the last piece of beauty left in our world. Everything else is dying. Kyle scanned the area. Too perfect, too quiet. No cities, no tech. Just nature. But he noticed something strange. A shimmering wall at the edge of the trees like invisible glass. He walked toward it and reached out. His hand bounced back. Energy. A force field. His heart dropped. You locked me in. Lyra walked beside him. Silent. Kyle turned to her, furious. You brought me to paradise, and then locked the door behind me? Lyra looked down. Not a prison, a shield. There are those who would take you from me. From us. If they knew you were here, they would come. Who's they? She hesitated. Kyle, she said gently. You're not just a human. You carry something inside you, a spark that's been missing in our people for centuries. You're not a prisoner. You're a treasure. And they would destroy you to keep that secret buried. Kyle looked at her, stunned. You keep saying that. That I'm special. But how? Why me? She walked closer. Because you feel. You fight. You love. All without knowing what's coming. Your species hasn't been poisoned by logic and cold. Control, not yet, he frowned. So what? You're just going to keep me here forever? Lyra stepped close. No, you'll leave. When it's safe. Or, if you truly want to. Kyle clenched his fists. Then prove it. Turn off the barrier. She stared into his eyes for a long moment, then slowly raised her hand. The force field shimmered and vanished. Kyle stood still, shocked. I don't want you to stay because you're trapped, Lyra whispered. I want you to stay. Because you choose to. Then she turned and began to walk away, her voice carried by the wind. You have until sunset. Kyle stood there in silence, heart pounding. He was free. He could run. He could escape. But something held him back, the beauty of the world. The pain in Lyra's voice. And the strange connection he still didn't understand. Was this really paradise? Or just a cage with prettier walls? And most of all, why did part of him not want to leave? Kyle didn't sleep that night. He sat near the glowing river, staring at the stars above, wondering which one was Earth, wondering if anyone even noticed he was gone. Lyra hadn't come back since sunset. The shield was still down. He could leave. But something deep inside kept him there. At dawn, curiosity got the better of him. He walked toward the trees. The forest felt alive, whispering in a strange, soft language. He followed the sound of humming high and soft, like a heartbeat made of light. Then, through the vines and crystal leaves, he saw a strange structure built into the rocks. A door stood in the middle, no walls, just the frame glowing. He stepped through. Inside, the world changed. The cave walls turned to metal. Lights blinked. Machines hummed quietly. The air was cooler, sharper. It was a lab. Kyle looked around, confused. There were tanks with blue liquid, strange floating symbols on screens, and thousands of small glowing orbs stacked on shelves like crystal eggs. Then, he saw something that made his chest tighten. A full scan of his body hovered in the air bones. Blood, heart, brain. His DNA strands rotated in slow motion, with lines of alien symbols pointing at parts of it. At the center was one large word in glowing red, compatible. He took a step back. What the hell is this? Footsteps behind him. He turned. Lyra stood in the doorway. She didn't look surprised. She didn't look guilty. Only tired. You weren't supposed to find this yet, she said quietly. Kyle's voice was sharp. You scanned me. You've been studying me like an animal. No, she said. Not like an animal. Like a chance. He pointed at the Pazdi. Glowing word. Compatible with what? Lyra walked closer. Her eyes were sad. With life. Kyle shook his head. That doesn't explain anything. She sighed. Our species has lost something in our code. Generations of war, pollution, and cloning destroyed this spark in us. We cannot create life anymore. We reproduce. But the children are empty, weak, sick. They die young. Kyle's voice lowered. So, you're trying to save your people? Yes, she said, but not just anyone can help us. Not every species is compatible. Most aren't, but you are. He stared at her. So that's why you chose me? No, she said firmly. I didn't choose you because of your DNA. I chose you because you were kind. Kyle was silent. Lyra stepped toward the scan. She waved her hand, and the image faded. The room dimmed. You don't have to help us, she said. We'll try to find another way. But I wanted you to know the truth. He looked at her, searching her face. And if I say yes? What does that mean? Lyra looked down. It means you stay. You live with us. You become part of our future. Maybe even part of my family. Kyle's heart pounded. And if I say no? Her voice was barely a whisper. Then I'll let you go. I'll erase your memories. You'll wake up on Earth, safe. Like none of this ever happened. He stared at her in silence. It wasn't just about saving a species now. It wasn't just science. There was something else here. Something personal. He could feel it. Why did you wait for me? He asked. Why not take anyone else? She looked up at him with glowing eyes full of emotion. Because when I was young, I saw you in a vision, not your face, but your heart. I believed in that heart. Kyle took a slow breath. A lab. A paradise. A war. A choice. And now, the truth. He wasn't a prisoner anymore. He was the deciding piece of a dying world. And the girl who took him wasn't a villain. She was just afraid to lose hope again. It began with a scream. Not from Lyra, not from Kyle, from the forest itself. The sky above the paradise cracked open like glass. A deep, vibrating sound echoed through the trees, and the glowing creatures vanished into the clouds. The river stopped flowing for a moment, as if the whole world was holding its breath. Kyle rushed out of the lab, heart pounding. Lyra? She was already outside, looking up. Her face had no color. Above them, a black ship was breaking through the sky. It didn't float, it tore through space like a blade through cloth. The shape was like a claw, long and jagged, with sharp red lights blinking across its body. Kyle whispered, "What is that thing?" Lyra's voice trembled. "Hunters." Kyle looked at her. "You mean bounty hunters?" "No," she said. "Worse. They're sent by the High Circle, my own people." "But why?" She stared at the dark ship. "Because I stole something from them." Kyle's heart skipped. "Me," Lyra nodded. "They found us." A flash of red light shot down from the ship, striking the edge of the Paradise Field. The ground exploded in sparks. The barrier Lyra had lowered came back up instantly with a buzzing hum surrounding the entire garden. "We have to run," she said, grabbing his hand. "But you said this place was hidden." "It was," she said, "but they tracked your life signal." They ran through the trees, past glowing plants and floating stones. Another red beam slammed into the ground behind them. The shockwave threw Kyle forward. He hit the dirt, coughing. Lyra helped him up. "They're not here to capture. They're here to erase." Kyle's eyes widened. "You mean kill me?" "They don't want humans involved in our bloodline. They fear what we could become." Another boom shook the air. From the trees, 3 figures dropped down, tall, armored, and faceless. Their suits were black with red lines, and each held a strange weapon that hissed with blue fire. Kyle froze. Lead Hunter pointed. "Give us the human, Lyra. Step away." She stepped in front of Kyle, raising her arms. "No, you're breaking the genetic laws. You know the price." Kyle pulled at her arm. "We have to run." Lyra whispered without turning. "We won't outrun them. But maybe we can fight." He looked at her. "Fight? With what?" She reached to her belt and pulled out a silver sphere. With a twist, it lit up and her robe melted into battle. Armor. Thin glowing plates covered her body like a second skin. Her eyes turned sharp. "Stay behind me," she said. The hunters moved fast. Too fast. The first leaped forward with his blade. Lyra dodged, spun, and knocked him into a tree with a pulse blast from her arm. The second shot energy bolts, but Kyle ducked and rolled behind a rock. His ears rang from the sound. Lyra was graceful, powerful like water turned to fire, but she was outnumbered. One of the hunters circled behind and aimed straight at Kyle. Time slowed. Kyle saw the glowing barrel, the blue fire charging. He didn't think. He grabbed a broken tree branch and threw it. It hit the hunter's weapon, just enough to throw his shot off. The blast hit a stone beside Kyle, shattering it into dust, but he was alive. The hunter turned to him. "Now you die, earth scum." Kyle reached for anything. His foot hit a glowing rock. He grabbed it and threw it with all his strength. The Yunpu rock cracked against the hunter's visor, and for a moment, the suit glitched. Lyra leapt behind the distracted hunter and struck. A loud crunch, and he fell. The other two looked at each other, and then vanished in a blink of red light. Gone. Kyle fell to his knees, breathing hard. Lyra dropped beside him, bruised and bleeding. "You okay?" He looked at her, eyes wide. I hit one with a rock." She smiled faintly, even in pain. "A good throw." They sat in silence for a moment. Then Lyra's voice grew serious. "This was just a scout team. The others will come." Kyle nodded slowly. "Then we better stop running." She looked at him, surprised. "You could have escaped," she whispered. "They gave you the chance." Kyle's eyes narrowed. "Maybe it's time I stop being a puzzle piece and become the one who flips the board." The garden didn't feel like paradise anymore. Not after the blood, not after the fight, not after the silence. The once beautiful skies were now dark with smoke. The crystal trees flickered. The glowing flowers had closed up as if the world itself was afraid. Kyle sat beside a broken stone, hands still shaking. Lyra hadn't said a word since the battle. She was sitting on the edge of the river, her feet in the silver water, head bowed. The glowing armor was cracked and faded now, flickering like a dying star. Kyle watched her for a long moment, then walked over, and sat down next to her. "You saved me," he said softly. She didn't look at him. He tried again. "You didn't have to fight like that. You could have let them take me." Still, she was silent. The wind blew softly, carrying her voice when she finally spoke. "When I was a child, I watched them take my mother." Kyle blinked. "What?" "Lyra's." Eyes were on the water now. "She fell in love with an outsider. Not a human, but someone not chosen by the High Circle. They called it blood betrayal." Her voice cracked. "They erased her, wiped her name from history. And they told me to forget her." Kyle was quiet. She continued. "But I couldn't. I never could. I remember her singing, laughing, holding my hand." She smiled weakly. "And I remember the day she was taken. I was hiding under the floor. I didn't even cry. I was too scared." A tear slipped down her cheek, mixing with the shining water below. Kyle looked away for a moment, giving her silence. Then he said, "So that's why you did all this? Why you broke the rules?" "Because of her?" She nodded. "She showed me what real love was. And when they took her, I promised myself I would never let them do it again. Not to anyone I cared about." Kyle's voice was soft. "And you care about me?" Lyra turned to him, eyes glowing even through the tears. "I didn't bring you here just to save my people. I brought you here because I was lonely. Because I saw something in you I haven't seen in years." Hope. Kyle took a deep breath. The weight of her words was heavier than any weapon. "I thought you were just using me," he admitted. "I was at first," she whispered. "But then I got to know you. And it changed everything." Kyle looked at her, this alien girl who had risked everything, who had broken her laws, fought her own kind, and was now falling apart before his eyes. "You've been carrying all this pain alone," he said. Lyra gave a sad smile. There was no one left to share it with. He reached out, slowly, and took her hand. "You're not alone anymore." She looked at their joined hands, then up at him with a tearful smile. "Thank you, Kyle," he nodded. "So, what happens now?" Her expression turned serious. "They won't stop. The High Circle will keep coming. They'll send stronger warriors. They'll come in greater numbers." Kyle leaned back on his hands. "Then we need a plan." She turned to him. "There's a place deep underground. A vault my mother once spoke of. It holds the last pure energy crystal of our kind. With it, we might stand a chance." Kyle raised an eyebrow. "Might?" She nodded. "It's dangerous, forbidden. And it's guarded." He smiled. "Sounds fun." Lyra laughed quietly through her tears. "You really are insane." "I'm human," he said. "That's kind of the same thing." They both sat there for a moment, the silence now feeling calm instead of cold. Kyle looked at her. "Let's finish what your mother started." Lyra squeezed his hand. Together, they stood and walked into the broken forest with fire in their hearts and purpose in their steps. The door stood, tall and silent before them. Not a normal door. This one pulsed with energy, built from black stone and golden light, humming like a sleeping heartbeat. Strange alien symbols circled around it in the air like fireflies. Kyle stared at it. Behind that door was the vault, the one Lyra had told him about. The one her mother once spoke of. The last hope, or the last mistake. "You're sure it's in there?" Kyle asked. Lyra nodded, her face pale but firm. "The crystal is real. My mother said it holds ancient life energy, pure, unbroken, untouched by the High Circle." Kyle looked back at the glowing trees, the sky now darker than before. "And once we take it," he said slowly, "there's no turning back, is there?" Lyra turned to him, her voice low. "No, the Circle will know. They will come with everything they have." Kyle stepped forward, then paused. His heart pounded. In his chest, he could still walk away. She said so. If he chose Earth, she would erase his memories. He would wake up in his bed with no idea any of this happened. But then he looked at her, not as an alien, but as someone who had risked everything for him, someone who had cried in front of him, fought beside him, and trusted him with the last hope of her dying people. She wasn't a mission. She wasn't a mistake. She was Lyra, and she was waiting for his answer. Kyle turned to face her. Back on Earth, I was just a number, a tech guy in a lab coat. No one listened. No one cared. Lyra listened quietly, her eyes full of questions. But here, Kyle continued, you gave me purpose. You gave me truth. You gave me you. Her eyes widened. He stepped closer. So no, I'm not going back. She blinked. You're staying? Kyle smiled softly. Let's finish this, together. Lyra let out a breath she'd been holding, and for the first time in days, her smile was real. Not a sad smile. Not a hopeful one. A relieved one. But just as she reached for the door's control panel, the air around them shifted. The wind grew cold. The light dimmed. And then, a voice echoed. You have made the wrong choice, human. They turned around. Floating above the ground stood a figure cloaked in black mist. His face was hidden behind a silver mask shaped like a skull, and his eyes glowed blood-red. Lyra gasped. No, it can't be him. Kyle looked at her. Who is that? Her voice trembled. That's the Circle's High Executioner. His name is Zareth. The figure hovered closer, his voice sharp and calm. You were offered safety, peace, return, and you chose rebellion. Kyle stepped forward. I chose freedom. Zareth tilted his head. Then you shall taste the price of it. He raised one hand. From the trees, shadows moved, dark shapes with glowing blades. Armored warriors faster than anything Kyle had seen before. Lyra whispered. They followed us. Kyle looked at the vault door. Can we open it? Only with 2 life signatures, she said quickly. You and me. Together. He grabbed her hand. Then let's do it. They pressed their palms to the stone. It lit up with fire. The ground shook. The warriors ran. Zareth raised his weapon. The vault opened. Light exploded out like a sun being born, blasting everything in every direction. Trees bent. Shadows screamed. Warriors flew back like dust. Kyle and Lyra stood in the center, untouched. Inside the vault was a floating crystal the size of Kyle's chest, spinning slowly, glowing with every color ever imagined. Lyra's voice was a whisper. This is life. Kyle stared at it. Now what? She turned to him. Now we give them a reason to fear hope. The vault doors closed behind them with a thunderous silence fell. But it wasn't the silence of peace. It was the kind before a storm. The kind that made your skin tighten. The kind that said something big was about to begin. Kyle stood at the heart of the ancient chamber, facing the glowing crystal. It hovered in the air, spinning slowly like a living heart, pulsing with energy that made the air shimmer. Every breath he took near, it felt heavy, like breathing in stars. Behind him, Lyra watched with awe. No one has touched it in thousands of years, she whispered. Not even the elders dared. Kyle turned to her. Then why me? She walked beside him, her voice quiet but firm. Because it only responds to a heart that still hopes. Kyle stared at the crystal. What do I do? Lyra gently placed his hand on the surface of the glowing stone, and it responded. The crystal lit up, and a wave of warm energy shot through Kyle's body. His mind filled with visions, Lyra's world before it died. Her people laughing, dancing, singing. Children running under twin suns. Then the vision shattered, burned cities. Dead soil, cold rulers wearing silver masks. Kyle opened his eyes. No more. He whispered. He reached deeper. And the crystal answered. A shockwave of light burst from the vault, rising high into the sky, bright enough to pierce space itself. Every creature in the garden looked up. The hunters, the enemies, even Zareth froze. Lyra looked around in awe. It chose you. Zareth's voice came through the air like a storm. You cannot stop us, human. You are a spark in the wind. Kyle stepped out of the vault, the crystal now floating behind him like a guardian. His eyes were glowing now, not blue, not gold, but something new. I'm not a spark, Kyle said calmly. I'm the fire. The earth shook out, the garden walls broke open, and the sky burned with light as the final battle began. The fight wasn't fair. Zareth had weapons forged in void fire, warriors trained since birth, and machines that could melt mountains. Kyle had one crystal, and Lyra. But that was enough, because every time Kyle stumbled, Lyra caught him. Every time Lyra fell, Kyle stood for her. They moved like one, heart to heart, soul to soul. And the crystal responded to their bond. Each time they touched it, it flared brighter. Each time they believed, the power grew. The warriors came, and were turned to ash. The machines fired and were swallowed by shields of light. Zareth screamed in rage, flying forward with a sword of shadow. Kyle met him, unafraid. Their blades clashed, light and darkness. Life and death. You could have returned to Earth, Zareth hissed. I did, Kyle growled. Right here. And with one final strike, he drove Zareth back into the light of the crystal, where he vanished with a cry. The war was over. Hours passed. The air was calm again. The garden was quiet, but this time, peaceful. Lyra stood beside Kyle, their hands linked. The crystal hovered above them, no longer glowing wildly, but gently, like a candle ready to light the world again. You did it, she whispered. Kyle smiled. We did. She looked up at him. What now? Kyle took a deep breath. We rebuild, we teach. We give your people what they've forgotten. Choice, freedom, kindness, a future. Lyra looked at him for a long time. Do you regret it? She asked. Not going back? Kyle shook his head slowly. Earth never needed me. He turned to her and smiled. But you did. She leaned her head on his shoulder, and far above them, for the first time in 1,000 years, a new sun rose, not from the sky, but from hope.